Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Wild Interviews with Fabrizio Lasarde. Today, we have another great guest with us and a very inspiring one. He is Antonio Mignucci, the director of the Manatee Conservation Center of Puerto Rico. He has specialized in marine mammals well, since he became a biologist, right, Antonio?
Correct.
And
Actually,
well, oh yeah, go ahead.
since I was about 16, 15 years old,
Well,
because my
since
passion
all you
started
right.
young.
So he's doing a great deal of work to highlight Caribbean manatee conservation, not only in the Caribbean but also in all of Latin America. Welcome, Antonio. It is great to have you.
Well, thank you very much for having me in your podcast, and this is going to be an excellent opportunity to interact with you and let everybody know what we are passionate about and what we like to do in terms of conservation.
Thank you. Well, Antonio, I think the best way to start this interview would be by knowing a little more about you. You already mentioned that you've been interested on marine mammals and on marine animals since 15 years old. What thing inspired you or made you realize that you liked a lot these animals and you wanted to specialize in them when you grew up?
Well, actually, it was a little bit younger than that. I when I was about 9 years old, I visited an aquarium in Puerto Rico that we used to have that had dolphins in it, and it was at that age, at 9 years old, that I fell in love with dolphins and I wanted to study them. The name of the dolphin that I met there was named Delphi, and I remember at 11 years of age, 12 years of age, calling the aquarium, getting home from school, picking up the phone and calling the aquarium and saying, "How is Delphi doing?" "Oh, hey, she's doing really good." Blah 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 blah. And I, "Oh, thank you," boom, and I hung up the phone again. And the next day I called and asked about the dolphin again and how she was doing. Um, but that dolphin allowed me to play with when I visited her. I allowed me to play with her. She would bring a fish over, and I would throw the fish, and then she would bring it back. And I remember two elder women next to me saying, "Cuidado, mijo! Be careful, kid! Those sharks bite." And I looking at them, going like, "Women, these are not sharks. These are dolphins." Um, and that's in my mind from when I first met dolphins in my life. And since I wanted to study them, and later on in life, I started doing research. Even in high school, I presented basic research on dolphins, and then in college, I studied the marine mammals of Puerto Rico, and then I did my master's and my PhD on these animals in our island and our area of the Caribbean.
Awesome. Well, you mentioned the thing about the old ladies saying that the dolphins were sharks. Right now, I think, after seeing several cases, it it is not a problem. But for example, in the case of snakes, most people or many people, when they see a snake, the first thing that comes to mind is that they are venomous or that they are bad, that they will hurt them. And that's the thing. Not all snakes are venomous. Not all sharks. Well, let's move it to that. Not all sharks are harmful. And
Mm-hmm.
and well, sharks are not harmful. If they are disturbed, they can harm. But if like leave them be, there nothing will happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where the education or like the outreach part that we talked a little about before recording the interview comes at that dolphins are one of the most social animals out there. They are
Mm-hmm.
beautiful, they are very playful, and if I'm correct, there are not many cases out there of dolphins biting people out, or are there? Well, yes,
No,
there are some, but
dolphins seem to be nice, but actually dolphins are large predators, and they have about 200 teeth in their mouth. So if you put your hand in the wrong place, they will bite you. But then it's not that they're gonna eat you like a shark if it given the opportunity.
exactly. So, Antonio, moving on. Well, you started all your interest with dolphins, but where does manatees enter the equation?
Well, that's a really good question. It was not until I started my PhD that I moved into manatees, and basically I did so because there was nobody in Puerto Rico doing manatee work at that time. Number one, and number two, it fell on my lap. The rescue of a very small manatee named Moises in 1991, and that manatee was the first manatee rescued in Puerto Rico, and we were able to save its life, grow him until he was about 600, 700 pounds. And in 1994, we released him back into the wild. The interesting part is that today, in 2021, Moises is going to turn 30 years old, and he's still alive. He lives on the east coast of Puerto Rico, and he's observed by people very often. He has a white mark on his chest in the shape of South America. So
Mm,
whenever we see the manatee turn over because of the pictures that they send us, the people send us, and we see the birthmark, we can tell that it's Moises, the 30-year-old manatee.
what a what a coincidence! Because just today in my feed, an article appeared about it. It was titled, um, I don't know. It was like, what's the life of Moises right now, or how's been the life of Moises right now? And I was like, oh wow,
Yeah.
wow.
Well, the same animal we're talking about. The funny thing about how animals become part of the culture, um, Moses became very famous because of a song that was written by Tony Croato in 1993 that became viral at that time. It is in YouTube. You can go see it and see me when I was 25 years old carrying Moises. But the interesting part is that it becomes part of the culture so much that whenever I go out to a shopping mall or to the grocery store, and people recognize that I'm the one that worked with Moses, they would come to me like they were talking about their uncle. Oh, y qué de la vida de Moisés? Kind of like, oh, what is the life like of Moses nowadays? Like if it was like we were talking about Uncle Sam or Uncle Joe
Mhm.
or whoever you know that oh, y qué de la vida de Moisés? And so you need to tell them the story that he's doing fine, that he lives in the East Coast. They always ask if he has family. We have to tell them that manatees are not like that, but we have seen Moses with a mother and calf, and we suspect that that is his baby. But
Ooh.
it is not something that for certain we can say. But people want to know that he's alive, and also that he has been able to to pass on his genes, um, contributing to the population by having babies.
Quick question, Antonio. What
Yes,
do you think if we share that famous song you just mentioned?
sure. Do you have it right there?
Can you repeat? Can you repeat the name, please?
Es Moisés llegó del mar.
Great. Let me. mm, Okay. Meanwhile, so so Moises became like a cultural or like an emblem for manatee conservation in Puerto Rico, from what you mentioned.
Correct.
That's very interesting. Not many animals, like have that effect on a country or on a population. That's really incredible.
Yeah, to be able to put a name to an animal that makes a difference is something very peculiar, and it has happened in other countries as well. in Dominican Republic, we helped rescue a manatee named Tamauri, and Tamauri also became a symbol of conservation there. Um, he did not survive as good as scenario like Moses had, because he was kept in captivity. But everybody knew about Tamauri, and actually, whenever I meet someone from the Dominican Republic and they ask, "Oh, about manatees," I say, "Do you remember Tamauri?" And they go, "Oh yes, I remember Tamauri." And
Wow.
so in different countries, animals they tend to be iconized like that. In Florida, there was a manatee that lived up to 70 years of age, and his name was Snooty. And Snooty passed away a couple of years ago, but everybody knew Snooty. Everybody went to visit Snooty. So
Snooty, the name is familiar to me. He was in an aquarium, or he
he
was
was
in the
in the South Florida Museum,
South
and
Florida
he
Museum.
lived up to 70 years of age, 69.
Interesting. Now, let's share the screen and see the video Antonio was talking about. Here it is. That's Moises, right?
That's the video. Those are wild manatees, but pretty soon you'll see baby Moses.
Great.
And that's the singer, Tony Croato. And this video became so viral that schools were asking for the video, copies of the video to show in the schools. So the channel, the state channel, TV channel, provided them with copies. And what they did is they covered empty spaces on the programming with the video of Moises and Tony Croato. So it's pretty interesting. Everybody
Wow.
wanted to know that song.
Well, before we continue, I invite you to check out our interview with Rosamira Jen from Cotton Top Tamarind Project in Colombia, Proyecto TT, so you can check out how a conservation initiative moved a whole country and inspired thousands of Colombians to support conservation and save the cotton top tamarind. It's right up. If you want, Antonio, I can I can just make it faster. Or this is Moises and this is
That's,
you.
that's Moises and that's me. Isn't that cute?
Very cute.
Brings back a lot of memories of the first manatee that I rescued and rehab. Actually,
Wow.
in the last frame, you could see his birthmark.
Oh, that's the birthmark.
No, no, not here. On there is a blue screen and he's swimming. You can see his chest and you can see his birthmark
Before or after? Oh no.
before.
Okay. Oh, let me
Just
see.
like
Like here?
a little bit less.
Less.
Okay, so play it now.
Okay.
No, no, not there. It has to be the blue screen. Way before this.
Way before.
Yeah, like put it at 2 minutes.
Okay. Good.
There. Start there. That's me getting on a plane with him. I'll show you his birthmark. You can see his birthmark. Let's see, pretty soon. Hold on. In a minute.
Oh,
There.
very. It was very fast, but yeah, it was like from here, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
Yes.
Well, well, people, you saw there Moises and Antonio, and oh, I think the video has like 30,000 views, right?
Does it? How many?
139 views. Yeah,
Is that
incredible.
good?
Of course, it's of course really, really good. So moving on a little, and by the way, to like to ask you a little bit about, I also read that here in Panama, a manatee was rescued,
Yes.
and she, I think, yeah, I think she was a
Female.
she. Yes, she was sent to you or to the Marine Conservation Center in Puerto
Yes.
Rico. What can you tell me about her? What was her outcome or
Well, Moana was rescued in the mouth of the Panama Canal. It was hit by a boat, and it was sent here by the government for rehabilitation. The veterinarians that rescued her in Panama came with her, and together we started completing the process, the different process of rehabilitation. The sad part is that she did not survive. The wounds in the from the boat collision were heavy, and she still had the muscles were hemorrhagic. Her lungs
mm,
had problems also, so it did not make it. But it showed the efforts of cooperation between countries like Panama and Puerto Rico and the U.S. in saving species like the manatee that are endangered. And it was very gratifying to be able to stretch or embrace working together with our colleagues from Panama and trying to get this little Moana to survive. We look forward to continue cooperation with Panama, and hopefully they can construct a little facility that they can put baby manatees whenever they're rescued there. If not, we're also available as we did before. But manatee rehabilitation, although it looks easy, it is not. It is a situation that requires a lot of staff on top of the animal on a daily basis. When the babies first come, we begin at 6 o'clock in the morning, and we end our shift at 3 o'clock in the morning. So every 3 hours, we need to be feeding these babies, um, and so it's very time consuming and very expensive. We would say, or we estimate that manatee rehabilitation costs per animal about $100,000 a year. So it's a lot of money
yeah, a lot
put
of money.
into a single animal. Um, I mean, just to make some numbers, so that is like $200 $300 a day is what costs to rescue and rehabilitate a manatee. $300 a day. So
Mm,
so it is very time consuming, but it gets to a point that you make or help the animal survive. And then when they reach about 600 pounds, then you can let them go and go back to the ocean and make their own lives and meet other manatees and hopefully breed and contribute to the population growth by reproducing.
that's oh wow. Well, that is statistics. That's a lot of money for one manatee. That it sounds like crazy. Who would have thought that it costs so much to care or to rehabilitate a manatee?
Yes.
And now, may I ask? Mm, I imagine you've had already cases of receiving or not, or having unreleasable manatees.
Yeah, we do have one case that we are holding right now. His name is Guacara, and we call those conditionally non-releasable, because our program, which is part of the U.S. program, all the animals need to be released. That's the goal of the program. We're
Mm,
not here to keep manatees in captivity. We are here to have manatees out in the wild reproducing. But in some cases, and actually now in the U.S. there are 10 cases of manatees that cannot be released, because if they are released, they will die. So we have one of them. His name is Guacara. He came from Florida in 2010, and he has been with us since. So now he's 16 years old, and his condition is negatively buoyant. And
Oh,
negatively buoyant means that if he's not in the proper depth, he falls to the floor. He sinks to the bottom. He's a sinker, it's
oh,
called. But in our pools are shallow, so they're 6 feet deep. So he can manage those pools. But if he was released in 30 deep uh, feet of water, then he would drown. So that's why Wakara is deemed non-releasable. And he is here. He serves as ambassador for the species for education purposes. And the idea is for those animals to talk for the other animals that need to be prepared for release, and in a matter of 2 or 3 years they're out of the rehabilitation facility.
of course, of course. Oh, well, I believe that now that we're touching this part, we can officially go to the fun fact section. What do you think, Dr. Antonio?
Of the what section?
Fun facts section.
Oh, fun facts. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, in the fun fact section, we will talk about everything from taxonomy to diet to, range to everything that is related to the species.
Okay, go ahead.
First of all, I would like to ask about just a little bit about the species and taxonomy. If I'm
Go ahead.
correct, there are three species of manatees: the
Correct.
Caribbean manatee, the West African manatee, and the Amazon manatee. Right.
Correct. Three species of manatees and one species of dugong.
Dugong. Yes.
And
All of them.
the fourth species, which is the dugong, makes up the Sirenia, which is the group that encircles all manatees and dugongs. So all of them are Sirenians, and there are three species of manatees in one family, and in another family there is one species of dugong.
Yes. Now, if I'm correct, the Caribbean manatee or the Antillean manatee, no, it's Caribbean manatee and it has two subspecies. The
It is
Antillean
the
manatee,
West Indian manatee, West Indian, and it has the Florida manatee and the Antillean manatee,
three subspecies.
subspecies.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
Okay, okay. Oh my God. Sometimes this taxonomy gets me like, ah, not confused, but all the ideas, like flying on my head.
Okay.
Well, Dr. Antonio, now that you mentioned, you said that guacara came from Florida.
Yes.
So you care for both Florida manatees and Antillean manatees.
Correct.
What, which one of the subspecies lived in Puerto Rico? Both of them?
No, we have in Puerto Rico we have Antillean manatees, and but in Puerto Rico at our center we have both subspecies
Mm.
under rehab. So we have one Florida manatee under rehab, which is Guacara, and we have three Antillean manatees, which are the three babies that we care for. But the fun fact is that our center does not only work with Florida or Antillean manatees. We have patients outside Puerto Rico. So in Colombia, right now we have two Amazonian manatee patients,
Wow.
which we remotely or virtually do or help with their rehabilitation with our colleague foundation called Fundación Omacha in Colombia. But also we have worked with African manatees in Gabon and Nigeria, doing rehab work there remotely as well. Those animals were released, and the Amazonian manatees were hoping that we can release them pretty soon. We also work in Peru with Amazonian manatees as well.
Well, the first time I heard about the Amazonian manatees was actually from Peru. There's a center in Iquitos. They
It's,
have,
yeah, it's called CREA, and CREA was a center that I helped create in 2007 with Dallas World Aquarium, and so we're very closely associated with them.
Wow. Wow, who would tell? Really incredible. So, so. Moving a little on, what can you tell me about the the aspects of the manatee? Do you want to talk a little bit about their diet, maybe, and and any fact you feel that should be highlighted right now?
Well, one of the interesting things about manatees is that they are vegetarian. Uh, so, so by nature, the manatees came from ungulates that are also vegetarian, and they stayed with that diet. So manatees eat about 10% of their weight in vegetables every day or plants. 10% for 1,000 pound manatee is obviously 100 pounds of seagrass or aquatic plants like water hyacinth. So they eat a lot. Whoever thought that by eating lettuce you were not gonna get fat, they're wrong. If you eat a lot of it, a lot of it, you're gonna get fat as well, just like the manatees. So so they are digesting these plants on a very interesting stomach or digestive system, which is closely related to the elephants. I'm sorry, closely related to horses more than to cows. So although people call manatees sea cows, they're actually more like seahorses because their stomach and their digestion is like a horse.
Wow.
Mhm.
I will give one fun fact, by the way. Now that you mentioned the alternate name sea cows, or what people when they first saw them called them, why do you think the order is called Sirenia? Because the old sailors, in like oh, hundreds of years ago,
Yes,
thought they were like mermaids. So
correct. So when Christopher Columbus first landed in the Americas, he said in his records that he had seen some manatees. He had seen some mermaids of the boat, but that they were not as pretty as the writers would write about them in their books. Well, they were. He was looking at manatees, and the reason why is because manatees have like a fin, like a tail, correct? The face has mustaches and is very peculiar, but the females have tits underneath their armpits. So
mm,
they, when they're breastfeeding their babies, they get a little bit enlarged. So if you drink a lot, like pirates did or sailors did, and you're alone in a boat without women for a long time, then manatees may start looking like mermaids.
oh my god,
So because of that, they named the group Sirenia.
wow. You, well, now that you have mentioned their what why don't we talk a little about their reproduction and something that people love more than the manatee itself, it's a baby manatee.
Correct. Well, manatees have one baby at a time. It takes 13 months for the baby to grow inside the mother. So the gestation is 13 months. They will have a baby every 2 or 3 years. The reason why they wait is because they're caring for one baby and taking care of it. So they try not to get pregnant before they get rid of that baby.
Mm.
The and the baby stays with the mom about 2 years. The baby is born at 60 pounds, 50 or 60 pounds. It's a really large baby, and immediately they start taking that rich, fatty milk, and they grow really fast. So in a year, the baby is about 150 pounds, um, and then at 2 years, the baby is about 600 pounds.
Oh, so they are like many other big animals that like required to stay with their mothers for like a considerable amount of time if we compare it to other species. Because for
Correct. The parental care is long. The parental care is only through the mom, so the males do not appear in this picture, only for the reproduction. So the mother is the one that has the burden of taking care of the baby. The the reproduction of manatees is a little bit crazy in terms of the female becomes in heat or comes into heat, and about 5 to 8 males pursue her, and all of them try to reproduce with her at the same time. So what you see at the beach sometimes of manatees playing and a lot of splashing around, it is not playing. It's actually the female trying to get away because she doesn't want to get pregnant, and
oh,
5 to 8 males trying to copulate with the female. So it's a little bit on the hectic side.
wow. So
Mhm.
the least I would have thought is that manatees, like have that not competition, but 8 males, one female. There's only gonna be one winner.
No, actually, no. Actually, what we have found out is that they seem to all of them copulate with the female, and the
Oh,
competition becomes internal of which one has better sperm to reach the ovum and impregnate her. So
wow.
it seems that they got away from that part about who's gonna do it and who's gonna be winning. No, let's all do it and let's let the sperm figure it out.
Oh, wow, wow.
Yeah, females don't like that too much.
Of course, of course, of course. Mm, I think it would be good to also talk about the manatee grass.
Hmm.
They, they are mainly, like they only eat seagrasses, manatees.
Well,
So,
manatees in the Caribbean eat seagrasses, but manatees in the rivers of Colombia and Venezuela and inside some of the areas in Central America, they eat aquatic plants, especially water hyacinths and water lettuce.
wow,
So it depends if they are riverine or if they are marine. If they're marine, they will be eating two species of seagrass mainly, which is thalassia, which is turtle grass, and syringodium, which is manatee grass. But if they're in the rivers, then they eat the floating plants like the water hyacinths and the water lettuce.
I imagine that with the, like the size, there are not many, like if there are any riverine manatees in Puerto Rico or in Florida, are there?
In Florida, yes, they do like rivers a lot, so they use both habitats. In Puerto Rico, no, they stay away from the rivers because that's where the Taino Indians and the Spaniards used to hunt them. So they do
Ooh,
not go inside the river mouths. I mean, they go to the river mouths, but they don't go inside the rivers. In
wow.
Colombia, most of the manatees are riverine, in the Magdalena River or the Atrato or the Sinu River, and obviously in Venezuela they are in the Orinoco River.
Because mainly if they are Amazon manatees, they are they live in rivers, not in
Yeah,
like open.
but, but the Amazonian manatees are in the Amazonian River tributaries. So I'm telling you that these
So
are
these one are
Antillean,
Caribbean.
Antillean manatees in rivers in Colombia and Venezuela
Wow,
and Guyana and Suriname, etc.
wow,
Yeah.
wow. Cool.
So the Amazonian is completely different. They
Mm,
are in a different river basin.
yes, of course. This one is more south, more inside. The
Yes,
Yes,
correct.
more out. Okay. What else? Do you have any other fun facts, or do we go to the threats and conservation section?
Let's go to the threats.
What are the main threats to Antillean manatees?
Main threat will be direct hunting for food. In the US and in Puerto Rico, the hunting has been stopped because of community outreach. In South America and Central America, they're still hunted. In Colombia, for example, near the Atrato River. About at least one or two manatees are killed every weekend for parties, for festivities like first communion or baptism or weddings. They
Oh,
kill one manatee for that family. So they're still being hunted, and that's their main pressure right now, regionally. The same in Africa, and the same with Amazonian manatees. In Puerto Rico and the U.S., the main threat would be a boat collision, watercraft collision in the form of boats, speedboats, and jet skis, and therefore their threat comes from anthropogenic causes. There's also and and other habitat degradation. Right now in Florida, we have a mass mortality event because of the die-off of seagrasses, which is direct cause by contamination by fertilizers. So this year we have had over 800 manatees die in 6 months in
oh,
Florida, and that is a really, really high number.
yeah, that's pretty bad. Um, okay, two things. The first one, you know, it was good to know about the hunting part because, of course, well, of course, in the United States, in other countries, most identify the first threat as boat collisions. I only, or not only, I did knew that sometimes they were haunted, but I thought that people, that had lost interest, interest on hunting manatees, not that they are still hunting them today. I thought that it was mainly, of course, these some anthropogenic threats like oil spills and the boat collisions. But wow, people are still hunting them.
Yeah, that is correct. That is the current situation.
So well, Antonio, um, do you have anything else to add to this area, or or do we go to the last part?
The last part.
Antonio, I would like you, if you can, to give a last inspiring message to my viewers. It can be about anything you want: manatees, conservation, the environment, anything.
Sure. Well, one of the things that is most important is for everybody to know that they are responsible for the conservation of the marine environment, and therefore the manatees or the dolphins or the seahorses, whatever you like in the ocean. But everybody is responsible, and everybody can contribute in their own way. Some of them will be by recycling trash or picking trash in the ocean. Some other others would be by responsible fishing. Do not fish animals that are too small that they need to recruit for the population. And others need to be responsible by saving seagrasses and not stepping over them, or by driving their boats slowly so they cannot hit manatees and therefore cause their death. Responsibility is the most important part of the stewardship that we need to show in taking care of our ocean and our nature and our habitat. Whatever happens to the manatees may happen to us, so we need to take care of them just like if we were taking care of ourselves. So that would be my message to your viewers.
Thank you so much, Antonio. It was great to have you. I hope you can continue doing everything for manatees and raising awareness and rehabilitating them, because right now, do you imagine having facilities like this in all of the range in Africa, in Latin
Correct.
America? It would be awesome. So
Correct.
keep doing that, and well, I hope you liked today's interview. Please subscribe. Please follow them on Instagram, on Facebook. Stay tuned for more updates from their projects. And well, thank you very much, Antonio.
Thank you, and I would like to congratulate you on your delivery and your efforts to educate people. So I wish you continue success in your growth as a communicator. So congratulations and thank you for having us.
Thank you very much, Antonio. You too. Well, bye. See you
Take
next
care.
week with another episode.